somewhat of a presentation, but really I would like for it to be interactive. I'd like for us to be having some conversation around it. You know, when we first talked about the topic, I was a little bit concerned because I'm thinking, how am I going to talk about what's going on with black women? I'm a black man, you know. And to be honest with you, a lot of times when we want to talk about what's going on, what's wrong with the black woman, or so on and so forth, we tend to throw a lot of blame and whose fault is and all that stuff. And so honestly, I started doing a little bit of research, and I thought it was very interesting. So in 1965, right in the middle of the civil rights movement, literally about 25% of our households had a single mom running the house. 25%. As of last year, it's almost the reverse. Now it's about 72% of our households, black households, where the mom is the only one getting it done. And you know, so when I started really thinking through this forced independence of a black woman, I started asking myself, well, who's really at fault? We're talking about almost 3/4 of our homes are run by a single mom. And I see a whole lot of men out in this world, and I'm like, somebody's dropping the ball, and that somebody is us. And so, you know, I started thinking, really just saying, Lord, what's the problem? What are we doing wrong? And, you know, earlier we were talking about generations and passing stuff down, and I thought it was really fitting because what I was really led to was all the way back to the beginning of the Bible, all the way back to Genesis. And I'll paraphrase this story, but essentially, you got Adam and Eve in the garden. Most of us, if not all of us, probably know this story. And Eve comes up to the serpent, the devil, and the serpent says, did God actually say you can't eat off that tree in the middle of the garden? And ultimately she said, yeah, he did. We can't touch it. We can't even touch that tree. And he said, well, you know what? If you can't touch it, you don't want to. You can eat it. You ain't gonna really die. Because, you know, quite frankly, if you eat, you're going to be like God. You're going to be wise and, you know, so on and so forth. You ain't going to die. And the next thing we know, the woman, she starts looking at the tree. She's like, man, that tree actually look all right. And the fruit on that tree look just like, it's not better than the fruit on the other trees. I kind of like what I see. And then she ate of the fruit. And a lot of times when we talk about that story, that's where the story stops. We're like, dang Eve, man. Messing things up for everybody. But we always skip over this little piece of it that says, right after it says she took the fruit and ate it, it says that she gave it to her husband who was with her.
With me. That's right. That's it.
Oh.
That's right.
And so it makes me think, even if we physically around, like you said, the significance piece, are we actually doing what we've been commanded to do? And so when I think about the forced independence of a black woman, I think it started even here, at least the design by which we start believing stuff. And so I came up with I talk about the 5 D's a lot, and I think every lie that we accept starts off with doubt. You know, the devil very rarely just comes at you and tells you a flat out lie. Even with Jesus, he didn't just flat out tell a bold-faced lie. But he puts a little doubt in there. And in this case, he's like, hey, are you sure that he actually say that? Are you sure that's what he said? Then from there, we get a little disappointed because we're like, man, I kind of wish I could have what everybody else got. I kind of wish I could do what everybody else is doing. Before you know it, you get distracted. And I always tell young folks, don't ever let your disappointments become distractions. There's nothing worse than getting disappointed and you dwelling on that disappointment so much that you're not taking care of the things that you're supposed to be taking care of. And you get distracted. And from that, then you start eating that fruit. You start doing the things you're not supposed to do, and you get defeated. And over time, enough of a defeat turns into destruction. I mean, it really does. And so when I think about this story, I think about the reality that Adam was given a very clear set of instructions. You know, he's supposed to be tending to the garden, of course, doing his work. But he's also supposed to be making sure that ain't nobody eating that tree now. Because, I mean, truthfully, God didn't actually tell Eve not to touch that tree. Right? God told Adam not to touch that tree. And I know we live in a society now that says, well, there's a feminist type thing, and I know we're talking about the gay agenda and some of the other things we're going to talk about today, but the reality is, from the beginning of time, God put us in a very specific place of headship and leadership, and I think some of what we're dealing with is we're running from it. We're hiding from it, or we're sitting right beside our wives and our daughters and our sisters, and we're not doing the things that we're supposed to do. And so things start unraveling, and we go from 25%, and in one generation, almost 75%. So when I think about it, I'm like, well, what should we be doing as men? Like, when we think about manhood, what should we be thinking about when we think about man? First and foremost, a real man, a godly man, right, controls his emotions and his passions. We can chop that up in a whole lot of different ways, whether it be your desire to be with a woman, but don't have no desire to be responsible for what comes after that, or some of the frustration that we might be going through, and we got these emotions flaring up. Next thing you know, you're putting your hands on this woman. All that stuff leads to a problem. A real man controls his emotions and his passions, right? A real man provides for his family. Now, so I think about this whole generation thing we was talking about. And providing for your family, quite frankly, is more than just paying bills. I think we kind of get tricked a little bit into that. I'm working, I'm paying the bills, I do whatever else I want to do past that. But providing for your family is more than just a financial thing. It's a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing, it's an emotional thing. I mean, literally being that real provision. And quite frankly, I look around now, and I'm guilty of it too. We were talking about grinding earlier. Sometimes we get married to the grind. You got a wife and kids, but honestly, your job and your wealth and your possessions, they become your side chick. And you spend more of your valuable time with the things outside of your home, outside of your marriage, outside of your parental responsibilities. Before you know it, that's your side chick. And I think we all know, at one point or another, at some point, one of those relationships got to take precedence, and the other one's going to be going by the wayside. And so I think about this providing for your family, and then I think about having to protect your family. And I think that's probably the one that maybe bothers me the most, because I remember when I was coming up, it really wasn't nothing you can do to me. And my daddy found out about it, and it wouldn't get handled. I mean, it probably, I'm talking about, wasn't, unless I had done somebody lying, like you weren't going to cross anybody in my daddy's house. He was going to protect us. But I think it's something deeper than just protecting the physical and the here and now. But when we protecting our family, our wives especially, the women, when protecting them and helping them understand what real manhood looks like, we actually setting our generations up for something special. No different than when we stepped away from protecting them. And we look up, I mean, let's face it, black female is the most underrepresented, underappreciated, underprotected group of people in this whole country. Maybe even the whole world, actually. And it's a scary thing, because our most prized gift is honestly the gift that we not protecting. And it's just something for us to think about. And I guess lastly, what I think about is just, and I know we're going to talk about the gay agenda later, but God's true design for masculinity. And I'll be the first to say, I think we've allowed culture and society to dictate what masculinity is, what a man looks like. And I mean, I've honestly been surprised I think back. I mean, I'm 33 years old, and I think back over my childhood and the things that weren't acceptable even 15 years ago, and the things that we think is just cool, okay, it's all good now. And so, yeah, I just closed out with those. To me, those are the 5 real principles of godly manhood, and we're to restore manhood. I think those are the 5 things that we got to be committed to.